Hey guys, OGalbina here, and we are back. BBR Season 6 draft analysis. It's been a couple months since any BBR was up on the channel, obviously, because we got knocked out round 1 by Joey Pokegame, in a pretty close game, but it left a bit of taste in my mouth, and I really, really want to win this season. We've come just short the last couple of BBR seasons, in my opinion. We've had some great teams, and I think this season is no different. We have a phenomenal team, but the coaching lineup this season, guys, is so unbelievably talented. We have some incredible draft league players in the season. So we're gonna have our work cut out for us, and I think we have the squad and the tools to do it. So we're gonna go over our team today, just really quickly to let you guys know my thought process and kind of how I want the team to function and things like that, the reasons for my picks. But yeah, if you guys do enjoy today's video, want to drop a like on the video, I'd appreciate it a ton. It helps me out. It's easy, it's free. Drop a sub to the channel if you're new, and if you're interested in becoming a channel member, there's a little join button down there, and that also helps me out, obviously, a ton. So yeah, that being said, I do want to talk a little bit about like some preamble stuff. First up, it's 9 to 11 Pokemon that we can draft. 120 point budget. As you can see on the screen, you'll be able to kind of keep count as we go with the graphics and things like that. And we get 1 Terra Captain. Now, this season, we're a little bit more restrictive with the mons that can Terra. Our rules are a little bit more open in the sense that now it's any 2 types. You can pick any 2 types from Terra Captain to Terra into. They do have a Terra tax, so their price does go up just a little bit depending on where they're at on the board. So for example, I think our Terra Captain went up 3 points because it's a Terra Captain, but a lot less Pokemon can Terra. Our round 1 pick, it could Terra last season, and it went to finals with one of the coaches. It cannot Terra this season, so it wasn't my Terra Captain, which it would have been otherwise, obviously. So that's a big thing to keep in mind, for sure, is that we can't Terra with our round 1 pick, but we can with our round 2. And again, there's a lot of other Pokemon League that couldn't Terra, like Palafin couldn't Terra. For example, what else couldn't Terra? Urshifu Single Strike couldn't Terra. There's obviously way more, and I'm just kind of blanking on it because I'm thinking about my team right now. But yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump on into it. First up, round 1, we have like pick 7, and New Toy Syndrome let, in my opinion, a top 3 Pokemon even without Terra fall to us in Big Qianpao. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. I'm about to go full John Jr. and put this thing on 27 thumbnails this season because it's going to get a ridiculous amount of kills. This thing has no switching with Sword of Ruin on top of its incredible dual stab in Dark and Ice, getting access to dual priority with its stab and Ice Shard and Sucker Punch, Sacred Sword for coverage, Psychic Fangs for coverage. It can Swords Dance, and really that's all it needs to do. It's very, like, not a lot of coverage, but it gets the coverage that it needs, especially with its ability just cutting down the defenses of everything that wants to take this thing on, whether it be Boots variants, Band variants, Life Orb. Clear Amulet is something I've seen a lot. I've even just seen Black Glasses pop off. Now, we can't Terra it. Like I said, we are not allowed to, Terra Dark it. Terra Fighting it probably would have been like my second typing, or Terra Electric or something like that. But nonetheless, this Pokemon is going to be absolutely phenomenal. It also gets a really fast taunt, which a lot of people sleep on. Like, taunt Qianpao can be really annoying if you're like, defensive on that switch in can get recovery and get out of range of, next time you switch in. I taunt you aggressively on a switch in or after I attack you and don't let you recover, and then I'm good after that. So that can really help out. I think this Pokemon's actually really good. I'm so excited to use Qianpao this season. Round 2, my Terra Captain. I ended up grabbing Enamorous. This is a new Pokemon that's coming in Pokemon Home. We haven't really seen it in a Draft League metagame yet, but I personally think that, especially with Terra, this Pokemon is going to be a monster to deal with. This thing, it's, again, a lot like Pow, in the sense that it reminds me of a Pokemon that, like, it doesn't have a huge move pool, since, like, the number of moves it gets isn't immense. Sorry if I'm looking at Team Builder over here, just kind of, make sure I have everything down. But it gets the moves it needs coverage-wise. It has an insane offensive move pool coverage-wise. We're just going to go down through. We can obviously go for Moonblast or Play Rough, physical or special, and this Pokemon is very viable at being mixed. 115 attack, 135 special attack, with Contrary alongside Super Power. We'll get there. So we have Moonblast and Play Rough. We have Play Rough, or Focus Blast, Grass Knot, Iron Head, Mystical Fire, Outrage for some reason. I'm never running it, but it gets it. Sludge Bomb, Springtide Storm for an extra stronger nuke. Terra Blast, which is obviously a big coverage move for us in particular. It gets Calm Mind, it gets Iron Defense, it gets Taunt. It doesn't get U-Turn, which is the big boon to it, but I mean, it gets Calm Mind, it gets Agility for setup sets if we're not Contrary and we want to rock out with, like, a Q-Charm set in order to set up an Agility and a Calm Mind or an Iron Defense, and in that way, this thing offensively is a monster, especially with the limited Steel and Fairy Resist, Steel types and Fairy Resist in general in this format, alongside Terra Ground with Terra Ground Earth powers, or Terra Ground Terra Blast if we're going physical with Superpower and Play Rough and things like that. That is perfect coverage. This Pokemon simply doesn't have switch-ins. It has a great speed tier in 106. If you look at our speed already, it's great with Chien-Pao at 135, and Enamorus at 106. So we have very, very solid speed initially, which is a big, hard thing to come by in Paldeadex. I am so excited to use this Pokemon, guys. I've been building for week 1, and let me tell you, this thing is absolutely insane. It is so much fun to build with, and I'm so excited to use it. I haven't played with it yet, but I feel like I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm really excited to use it. It is 18 points because it was our Terra Captain. I believe it was 15 originally, but we upped it a little bit because it's going to be our Terramon. Next up, I grabbed Glimmer, another Mon from John's team last season. I think it's a damn near perfect pairing with Chien-Pao. This thing and the hazard support that it provides for both Pao and Enamorus is going to be immensely valuable. Obviously, getting Toxic Debris is his ability. Basically, whenever we're hit by a physical move, we set up Toxic Spikes, which is incredible because now I don't have to dedicate a turn to it. And even if there's a ground and poison, it forces my opponent to either bring it or play very specifically around my Gamora and not attack it. I remember in playoffs last season, Kurt brought Mudshot Muck in order to not proc Toxic Debris against Gamora, which is pretty hilarious. But on top of that, obviously we get Stealth Rock, Spikes, we get Mortal Spin, which is a form of removal, which is awesome. And what a lot of people don't really recognize, in my opinion, is how unbelievably good this thing is offensively with its coverage and special attack. We just talked about how strong Enamorus is with 135. This thing's at 130 with access to Power Gem and Sludge Wave as stab, as well as Earth Power, Energy Ball, Dazzling Gleam, a ton of different things. I mean, really, that's it coverage-wise. I guess Flash Cannon if you really end up needing it. But that damn near covers everything. That's better coverage than Neolego, and that thing was a monster in the draft format before. So I think people really sleep on the offensive aspect of Gamora, how good it can be with a Rock Polish set as a win con in the end game as well, and Corrosion as a hidden ability or a secondary ability, so that we can Toxic Steel types, which is really good when you have a Chien-Pao and an Enamorus that stabs don't really appreciate that, what do you call it? That steel typing, and getting them chipped with the poison is great. There's a lot of overload on this team right now. Those steel types kind of have to want to switch into all 3 of these guys, and that's not going to go well for them over the course of the game. So I'm definitely super juiced to use Gamora here. I think it's a great Pokemon for its price point. Next up, I need a little bit more of I wanted a little bit of momentum. I wanted a solid pivot. I wanted a, more sturdy Pokemon to kind of round out this really offensive top 3. And I ended up grabbing Corvo Knight. The reason I grabbed Corvo Knight is because it's one of the few good steel types. It was still on the board. It's very steep. I'm not the biggest guy on Corvo when it comes to its price point, but it's very good at what it does. It comes in and clicks U-turn. It might roost every once in a while, but it comes in and clicks U-turn, and that's it. And that's beautiful when you have a Chien-Pao, when you have a what do you call it? When you have a Chien-Pao and when you have a Enamorus. Like, it's absolutely phenomenal. We love to see that, obviously. And we can also obviously run with defog sets. We can run with Iron Defense Body Press sets. There's so many different things that this Pokemon can do for this team support-wise. That's really nice. If we're not running like a Hazard Stack Glim, we very viably can run defog Corvi in order to get away those hazards, which is great. Next up, I want to grab, again, some more offensive momentum to get into those breakers, and we grab Slytherwing. Obviously, an incredible Pokemon. Getting a good offensive fighting type with Slytherwing is, like, paramount and incredibly important. So that's what we ended up grabbing right here. This Pokemon has great coverage. It's great anti-Sun as well. It's great against Sun teams, which is really valuable. It obviously gets First Impression, which is really strong priority coming off of a base 135 attack. Very strong. We can U-turn, we can close combat, we can Morning Sun for recovery, we can bulk up, we can rock out with Leech Life as, more reliable stab, we can Flare Blitz as, which is basically like stab with how damn strong it is, Wild Charge, Will-O-Wisp, Zen Headbutt. This thing is very strong offensively with Choice Band, booster energy sets, things like that, but it's also very good defensively with those Morning Sun, Will-O-Wisp, U-turn sets as well. I love Slytherwing. I've used it very well in the past. I've already really enjoyed it whenever I've gotten drafted before. And I think getting it with something like POW is just kind of the icing on top of the cake. This thing can do so many different things for a team, and I'm very excited for it. It's very good with our POW, especially. Next up, I grabbed the Alomola. Now, this is one pick that I'm not the biggest on, personally, because I'm not the biggest Aloe fan. I think it's a bit passive, especially in losing Knockoff, Scald, and Toxic this gen. Really one of its main forms of passive damage. But it's only 6 points, and I looked at the board, and at this point, it was crazy. In round 4 and 5, every single water type that I liked went. immediately. All of them were gone, so I got sniped a lot, and I needed to secure an early aloe because it was really good in this team. Now, again, more momentum. It did get access to Baton Pass, so it can BP around, and we can dry pass pretty freely. We can Healing Wish up some big threats, something like an Enamorous, something like a Chien-Pao, even like Slither Glim, potentially. And it passes fat wishes, and that's going to be really clutch for something like Enamorous and Chien-Pao. Getting them in, Baton passing in slowly, and getting them back up to full is going to be really nice. Now, it is a bit taunt fodder, but I think that I have a team that offensively pressures and punishes those passive taunt turns well enough. It's not like my whole team is passive. It is quite literally only aloe, plus it has regen, so I don't have to wish protect to keep myself healthy. I can wish and use that to get someone else healthy and get the hell out of there and heal up myself naturally and passively. So while it may not be the most flashy Pokemon, while it may not be my personal favorite Pokemon because of how passive and exploitable it is, I think it fits this team very well, and I think it was just kind of a necessary evil for us. Next up, ground type, grab me some Mudsdale. Speaking of a Pokemon that really appreciates the wishes from Aloe, that's going to be Mudsdale. This thing is going to be a very reliable rocker. I had one rocker up to this point, so I wanted to grab another one. It is one of the few Pokemon that kept Roar, so it is set up deterrent, which is great. Stamina is an incredible ability, especially alongside Body Press when you boost your defenses, and then get basically a stab move with how strong it is. This 100 defense. People don't really recognize how strong Mudsdale can be. Offensively, 125 attack with Earthquake, Heavy Slam, Stone Edge, close combat, things like that. This Pokemon can be really scary offensively. I've seen Choice Band Mudsdales massacre fat teams, like absolutely massacre them, and then that bulky water thinks they could switch in on Mudsdale, just gets 2 KO'd by it. It's a beautiful sight. It really is a beautiful sight. So I'm definitely excited to use Mudsdale this season. It's a good low tier ground. It does what it needs to do, and it kind of rounds out, again, a little bit more of that bulk, a little bit more hazards as well, to take a little bit of pressure off of Gamora in trying to set those up. So I definitely am big for Mudsdale on this team. Next up, I grabbed Gooch. If you looked at my team, it was very Phys-Def oriented. There was a lot of physical defense. There's a lot of Phys-Def on Aloe, a lot of Phys-Def on Mudsdale, and usually Corvi is going to be more Phys-Def, you know, just because of its natural typing and things like that. I wanted that Spadef sponge, and I wanted some more offense, and Gooch can do both of those things, whether it be those fat AV sets that you're used to, whether it be like rest sets, or whether it be like Choice Specs variants, Choice Scarf variants, Choice Band variants. Gooch can do a lot. Life Orb is great. It has incredible coverage, that pseudo coverage, and this thing is just a Spadef wall. I think the defensive core of Aloe, Corvi, Gooch, Mudsdale is absolutely insane. I'm really excited, and Gooch is only 10 points, so I think that's very, very good value considering where we're at in the draft right now. Like I said, absolutely incredible coverage between Draco, Sludge Bomb for fairies. We get things like Earthquake, Focus Blast, Flamethrower, Surf and Hydro Pump, Thunderbolt, Power Whip. I mean, it's incredible all the moves that this thing gets. Acid Spray is a great tool for it as well, in my opinion. And you can even go with weird like Acid Armor, Body Press sets if you really want to. I've seen that set pop up before, once or twice. So lots of options that Gooch gets. It's typically going to be that Spadef sponge for a team like this. It's going to be pretty telegraphed, but it doesn't matter if it works, right? So I'm definitely excited for it in that regard. Then we have Rotom Mo. A Pokemon, if you guys have been around the channel for a long time, you know that I love Rotom. I love every single Rotom form. Mine is Frost. I think Frost is kind of ass. Other than that, I love every single Rotom form from the bottom of my heart. And this is one of my favorite ones because of how good it is into waters. One, I don't have the greatest ground responses either. I have Corvi, which can be beaten by a lot of them, especially like Swords Dance ones and things like that. Aloe can get overwhelmed by a lot of them as well, and I like that immunity in Rotom that immediately threaten them. So that's going to be a really clutch aspect of Rotom, but also with the water types, man. I really struggle with a dedicated way to beat bulky waters. And I really like Rotom as a means of doing so. It gets the freeze Volt Switches of all time because it bullies grounds that don't want to come in on Leaf Storm. So those other Electric Resist, those grasses and those dragons are going to come in. They're going to take a Volt. Then I'm going to get into Chien-Pao or Enamorous and have a good time. I obviously can spread status with Thunderwave and Will-O-Wisp. No more Toxic or Plane Split or Defog, which is tough. But again, I can Nasty Plot up, I can Volt Switch around and just kind of do my job. This thing's incredible. I love me some Rotom Mo. I think it fits this team phenomenally. And it really was a really important clue piece. I actually was kind of boned if this got sniped from me, which is pretty funny. But yeah. And then last up, I grabbed the Pokemon. It just kind of looked fun. I figured it fit the team well offensively. It gave us 2 typings we didn't have. It also gave us a spin blocker, which is really cool, and another great way of breaking through steel types, which I think the team kind of struggled with a little bit, and fairies, which is going to be Hisuian Typhlosion here. It is a little bit slower than regular Typhlosion, but that's honestly better because it gives us really perfectly gapped speed tiers. I believe this thing hits 95 base speed, which is really, really cool, being able to kind of bridge the gap between things like Glimmer and Slither and Enamorous, kind of making it to where these Pokemon aren't going to be airing at him and Modest versus us really ever, which is really, really cool. Those fires are really solid offensive typing, as, you know, seen in, like, Chandelure in the past. We can rock out with eruption sets like Choice Scarf Eruption, Choice Specs Eruption. Even Heavy Duty Boots Eruption is a viable option in the teams that are a little bit slower, and I know I can get in. Eruption is just a good fourth move, but I can obviously rock out with Will-O-Wisp. I can obviously rock out with Infernal Parade, which is a really cool move. It's a 30% chance to burn, and a target gets double in power if a target's already status. And we have some decent status on this team with things like Gamora, with things like Rotom, with things like Gooch, even throwing out Sludge Bombs and Thunders and things like, not Thunders, Thunderbolts, I guess. But really it's going to be Rotom and Glimmer spreading status. We can make Infernal Parade very, very strong. We obviously still do get Shadow Ball. We get Extra Sensory, which is kind of cool. But really it's kind of mostly about the resistances, the speed tier, and just like the raw breaking power that we can get from Scarf Specs, and even just boot sets can be really, really powerful and really, really cool. We get some good physical coverage as well. Our attack set is pretty mediocre at 84. And this thing does kind of struggle with waters, but again, the water comes in, it takes an Infernal Parade, gets burned, and then it's kind of just 2-hit KO'd, which can be really cool, you know, potentially going forward. So I really do like Hisuian Typhlosion. I think it's really cool in this team. We can also bait burns with Lava Plume too. That's also a really viable option considering what we're rocking out with like Infernal Parade and things like that, making it just like 120 base power, which is crazy strong for a Ghost move. Crazy strong. So I'm really excited to use this thing. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I haven't seen it used like anywhere ever, so I'm hoping we can use it well. But that's gonna be the team. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Be sure to go check out every BBR coach down in the description below. This season's going to be super fun, guys. We have a lot of really great coaches. Again, like I said, incredible talent, and there's some crazy teams. My personal favorite team, other than mine, because I think my team is ridiculous. I think my personal favorite team is probably Keegan and Vepsis. Those are my two favorite teams, so go check out those draft analysis. I think those teams are cracked. But again, there's some nuts teams. Dale drafted a great team this season. DOA drafted a cool team. John drafted a cool team. Like, there's so many cool ones. So from past BBR coaches and new ones. So I'm really excited. I hope you guys are too. Drop a like if you enjoyed, sub if you are new, and I will see you guys in the next one. Later.